Let's go ahead and take a look at Photoshop's interface so that you can get a brief understanding of where everything is and how to maneuver around that interface. So you can go ahead and open up any image you'd like. If you'd like to open up the resource file for this lecture, just go to File, Open, and under the second lecture overview of the Photoshop interface, you can go ahead and open up the robin.jpg. It'll pull that image in and you should see a workspace that looks similar to this. Now the workspace consists of everything from the menu bar at the top to the toolbars, the document window, and all the panels on the right hand side. And we'll go ahead and cover some of that now. Now, if it doesn't look like this, or for whatever reason your Photoshop is very different from what you're seeing based on different things that have been moved around, you might want to go ahead and set everything back to its default settings. Something I typically will do if I have moved a lot of things around and it's getting a little bit too much. So if you go to the top and you click on Edit under the menu bar, and you go all the way to the bottom to Preferences, and then you select General, or you hit the shortcut key here, Control K, it'll bring up all of our general preferences. And here we have one that says Reset Preferences on Quit. Now we can go ahead and select that, and then we hit OK. And then whenever we restart Photoshop, it'll reset all of the factory defaults for Photoshop back to its original settings. You might also want to go up to the top, and under Window, you can go down to Workspace and make sure that the Essentials workspace is selected. And you can also reset that Essentials workspace if you want. Here you can also see we can create other workspaces, and we will get into that a little later on. There's also different workspaces for 3D, graphic and web, motion, painting, and photography. And by clicking on one of these, it'll change out all of the different menus and different things that you have here based on what you would need for that particular field of study. So I'm going to go back and just change this back to the Essentials, and this is what it should look like. Now, first we have the document window in the center, and this is where you're going to see any of your image tabs at the top, and then the main workspace that you're working on. And then there's actually some information at the bottom, such as how much we're zoomed in and a little bit of information about the document size and name and so forth. On the right hand side, you'll see a bunch of different panels. These panels allow you to do all kinds of different things, and we'll talk more about panels later on. But basically, the panels will give us different things such as adjusting colors and swatches, changing properties and different types of adjustments, working with layers, channels, and paths. And then there's also a Learn panel on the right-hand side at the top. This is a newer panel and is very great because you can learn different things about Photoshop in a step-by-step tutorial type direction inside of the application, which means you don't have to leave Photoshop and they'll teach you how to do some of these things. And I highly recommend checking them out at a later date once you learn Photoshop a little bit more. At the bottom we have a Libraries panel, and that panel will allow us to pull in any files or any assets that we have from the Creative Cloud suite. On the left-hand side of the document window, we have our toolbar, and this is where you'll find all of your common tools, and we'll talk about these a little bit later on also. These tools have different tools inside of them, so if I left-click and hold down on one of the tools, you'll see there's actually multiple tools in the toolbar. And the tools have different options, which actually change the option bar at the top. So as I select these tools, you can see that the option bar changes based on whatever tool that I am selecting. There's also a menu bar at the very top that you would commonly see in any type of operating system, with things such as saving your file, creating new files and closing them, and editing them, editing your image, working with layers, type, selecting, working with filters, and so on. This is the main workspace that you'll be using inside of Photoshop, and as we go throughout this course, you'll learn a little bit more of how all of these work and how you can adjust them and move them around and use all the different tools and features inside of Photoshop at your disposal.